Hi everyone, welcome to Land and Sea. I'm Jane Adey. How do you feel about bats? You might be spooked by the tiny animals, but they're important for our environment. And right now there's a race against time for bats in Newfoundland and Labrador. A deadly disease is spreading, and scientists are trying to figure out how to help this species on the brink. If you're an animal lover, the Avalon Peninsula's Salmonier Nature Park is a joy. It's a center for environmental education and wildlife rehabilitation. So you can easily spy big four-legged animals roaming the woods or quenching their thirst on a hot summer's day. And you can clap eyes on winged predators like young eagles or observe a great horned owl. To catch a glimpse of the tiny animals that live in these wooden box houses, though, takes patience. Inside are little brown bats, and the sun has to set before they'll venture out. When the little brown bats exit their houses and take to the night air, these bat lovers want to have a close-up encounter with the wee mammals. Jessica Humber and Bruce Rodriguez are wildlife scientists with the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. While many people might fear bats or think they're a bothersome pest, they are big fans of the nocturnal flyers.
Bats have a really important ecological role, and it's wide-ranging. So they do eat enormous quantities of flying insects every night. They can easily eat half of their body weight in insects each night, and pregnant females can eat their full body weight each night in insects. So that's a lot of insect control. They do eat mosquitoes. They feast a lot on moths and also on beetles. So a lot of the pests that impact our agricultural sector and forestry sector, they are excellent natural controls of outbreaks of those insect species. Another important aspect of, research with bats is related to viruses. Because bats do have such a long evolutionary history and have been on the earth for so long, they really have amazing immune systems, and they can carry a huge number of viruses in their system and not be impacted by that. So there's huge value there in terms of understanding and repercussions for human health research that can come from bats as well.
After dark, hundreds of bats will fly out of their houses here in the park. Jessica and Bruce are setting up what's called a harp trap just outside their houses to try and capture the critters. There are dozens of lines of monofilament in 2 rows. The thin, almost invisible fishing line stops bats mid-air. As scientists, they not only want to see little brown bats, they want to give them a hand. You see, bats are under threat. A deadly disease known as white nose syndrome is taking a heavy toll on the province's population.
Fungus grows on their exposed skin and on their wings, nose, ears, and causes them to wake up frequently throughout the winter. They try to groom it off, and it makes them itchy and so on. So basically, the bats are burning through their fat reserves too quickly. Every time bats come out of torpor during hibernation, they burn a lot of energy to do so and to bring their body temperature and their heart rate back up. So they essentially can't make it through the winter and end up dying of starvation or dehydration.
Researchers believe white nose syndrome traveled here from across the pond, not on a bat, but likely on the boots or clothes of a tourist.
White nose syndrome was first detected in North America in 2006 in a cave in Upper New York State. It was in a popular tourist cave there, so it's believed that the fungus was accidentally moved there by a caver that was probably in a cave in Europe. The fungus that causes white nose syndrome does originate in Europe, so the bats there are accustomed to it, and it doesn't affect them the same way, but it was a novel disease that showed up in North America, and our bats had no immunity to it.
And white nose syndrome has already had a devastating impact.
In Western Newfoundland, we've seen massive declines of greater than 99% of bats, so it's rare to see a bat in Western Newfoundland right now. We have it currently in Western Newfoundland and in Central Newfoundland as well. Thankfully, the white nose syndrome has not yet arrived on the Avalon.
But it could come soon, and that's worrisome for scientists like Jessica and Bruce. The Avalon Peninsula has a thriving little brown bat population, in part because of these cushy lodgings set up for them at Salmonier Nature Park. Females can comfortably have their young inside instead of breaking into the roofs of cabins. Jessica and Bruce have been coming here for years to connect with bats on their doorstep.
Part of the project that we started in 2008 was to have long-term monitoring sites. When we're looking around the island, we're looking for sites that had strong bat populations and potentially had some bat houses, which are easier to monitor in the long run. Salmonier Nature Park ended up being one of the prime sites that had good bat houses, had a crew of people that worked here that could help monitor the bats. We're basically leaving the bats alone on the West Coast, especially in the hibernating sites, because their numbers, they're still struggling. We don't want to put any more stress or pressure on them.
There's still lots more work to do here before darkness comes. Jessica, Bruce, and their assistant Liam Keefe will work well into the night and early morning hours, counting, measuring, and tagging hundreds of bats.
I love it. It's, obviously it takes you away from your day shift, so it takes a few nights and you're wiped out by the end of it, because you are going all night. You're going from just before dusk all the way. We can be finishing at 4 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the morning. So raise the top.
We'll pull an all-nighter with these scientists too when we come back.
Which way does it?
We're at Salmonier Nature Park on the east coast of the island of Newfoundland. There's a valuable species hanging out in these teeny tiny homes all over the park. The occupants are little brown bats. Wildlife researchers Jessica Humber and Bruce Rodriguez wait for them to come out. They're worried about the bats' health. So when the sun goes down, they're going to catch as many as they can. On the west coast, the flying mammals have been ravaged by white nose syndrome. The bat population here in the east is healthy, but researchers worry the disease could soon spread. This harp trap will stop the bats mid-flight. They'll drop into a collection bag below, and researchers will scoop them up.
Probably the most effective tool for trapping bats. You can trap them in large quantities and they don't get entangled in the net, so they're really easy to take out.
Okay, let's raise that up.
They'll also use a mist net. Ornithologists have used this setup to capture songbirds for decades, and it works well for bats too. The light fades and it's coming on duckish. The researchers dress up for their close encounter. They don Tyvek suits and gloves. The last thing they want is to spread anything to the bats they'll touch. And in the very rare case that a bat has rabies, they'll be protected too. Salmonier Nature Park staff arrive. They'll have the job of counting bats as they take wing from the 12 bat boxes on site. The sky darkens and the bat dance begins. The scene is frantic, a Halloween lover's dream. Blind as bats, the old saying goes. In fact, they're not, but the mist net is a deceptive tool.
It's such a fine mesh. They fly out of their bat box and just hit it without realizing. They sort of get tangled a little bit in the netting. They can chew through it pretty quickly. So with the mist net, we have to sort of jump right in and get the bat untangled as quickly as possible, or they'll chew big holes in the net.
4, 5, 6, 7.
It's hard to keep up with the counting. They're coming fast like bats out of, well, you know where. Jessica is delighted to see so many. She's surveyed caves in western Newfoundland where bats overwinter. There, the story is a sad one.
There's one cave in particular that I love visiting in western Newfoundland, and in past years, it's always had about 1,300 bats. It requires a little bit of a climb to get inside, but once you get inside, it's all limestone walls, just covered with bats. Unfortunately, I guess within 1 to 2 years after we first detected the fungus that causes white nose syndrome in western Newfoundland, we visited, there was only 17 bats left inside, and then the year after that, 14 bats. It was definitely heartbreaking on a personal level because we had visited that cave for multiple years. That being said, we were expecting certainly to see that massive decline occur. In many of the caves where white nose syndrome impacts it, you do see a lot of dead bats in the cave, but funny enough, in this case, there was not. It was just empty. It was just eerily empty. Oftentimes bats, when they do wake up with white nose syndrome in the middle of the winter and sort of start running out of food reserves, they will leave the cave and start looking for insects in winter. So we suspect that's what happened in this case. So there weren't bat carcasses in the cave to actually see. I think that would have been a little bit more difficult. It was just empty. So we'll keep track of the little ones.
But here on the East Coast, bats are bountiful. One by one, they're gathered up in cloth bags and taken inside.
So it's a male.
The researchers look them over for signs of white nose syndrome and determine the gender and age.
This joint right here,
Okay.
do you see how the light is passing through that joint?
Yes.
That's how we know it's a juvenile. 6.1 grams.
They're carefully weighed and measured.
37.40. 0 for wing index. It's a female. The weight of the bat is 7.6.
And then tags the size of a grain of rice get inserted under their skin.
So now we're going to inject a pit tag into between the shoulder blades of the bat. It's just going to hang out underneath the skin, but it's not going to touch the muscle or anything. There's just a lot of loose skin there. So it looks like a big needle, but it's actually just a tiny microchip. We can track their comings and goings each year, have a look at survival rate over time, better understand their social dynamics, all those sorts of things, and their movement. At this point, it's sort of like a race to learn as much about these creatures as we can while we still have the populations on the Avalon.
These bats better start eating these flies.
The count continues outside as volunteers fend off mosquitoes. Sarah Stockley is a Salmonier Nature Park interpreter. She's done this for more than half a dozen years now, and it's changed the way she thinks about bats.
Oh, they don't bother me. The first couple times I did this bat count, it did freak me out a little bit. They are quite quick moving, but once you notice how many there are and how important they are, it's really, really neat. I love it.
39.02.
On this night, 6 volunteers count a grand total of more than 1,400 bats. The researchers set them soaring again as quickly as they can. They hope the intervention could lead to greater understanding of bats and maybe knowledge about how they can protect them before it's too late. What might have been a night of horror for some has been a night of hope for Jessica.
It's been going really good, yeah. Salmonier Nature Park always delivers in the bat department. There's always lots of bats here, which is wonderful, and we've been able to process about 100 bats a night, but certainly there's no limit to the number that we could trap if we wanted to.
When we come back, research is one part of the solution. Awareness is key too. We'll travel to Harbor Grace and meet the next generation of bat enthusiasts.
I am so impressed with everything you guys know about bats.
The air is crisp in Harbor Grace. Leaves are turning color, and the spookiest day of the year is just around the corner. A perfect time to spread the word about one of the most iconic symbols of Halloween.
Thank you very much for inviting me to come in and talk to your classes today. My name is
Michael Blackwood has a passion for bats. He works as an interpreter at Salmonier Nature Park. When kids are getting ready to trick or treat and bat curiosity is at its highest, Michael swoops into classrooms and offers up bat facts.
Awesome. The kids love it. They love to have somebody come in and, present them with something exciting and out of the ordinary, but also that, it's from where they live. It's the wildlife of this province, and so they often have their own personal connection to it. There's the wrist with the thumb sticking up.
Michael says the first step in getting young people to care about bats is to dispel myths about an animal with a scary reputation.
A lot of people are concerned that bats are attracted to white clothing and get tangled in hair. Those are the two most common myths that I hear. But a lot of people think that they suck blood or they're dirty, that they spread diseases, and they're no more of a disease vector than any other, wildlife.
Michael goes into great detail about how bats live in the woods in Newfoundland and Labrador and the sophisticated system they use to move around.
How does echolocation work?
The bats can take in a deep breath and they can push out so much air over their vocal cords that it makes a really loud, super high-pitched sound. And when that sound bounces off everything around them, they listen for the echo. And that echo tells them where things are and what direction. Bats doing this in the night sky with this incredibly high-pitched noise that's as loud as a smoke detector going off, but humans can't hear it. Just the bats can. Like, the idea that there's loud sound filling our night sky that none of us have ever heard, that's pretty astounding. And the fact that they can navigate with that sound and track down prey, use the change in pitch of the echo to figure out the direction and motion of their prey. This is all an amazing group of adaptations that allow the species to thrive in our insect-rich environment. So by changing...
Information that researchers collect about bats is one part of the solution to help protect the species in Newfoundland and Labrador. Michael knows awareness about white nose syndrome is key too.
Now here's a picture of some bats that are sick. You can see how their faces look moldy.
He's counting on these youngsters to care.
Fuzz growing on their face. If they report a deceased bat, that can be collected and tested by Wildlife Division staff or their colleagues, and so we can get this sort of citizen science support from kids and other people in the public to help us track the spread of white nose syndrome in the province.
He hopes students will be on the lookout for little brown bats, dead or alive, and that they'll talk to their parents about bats too.
If there's a bat flying in their area while there's still snow on the ground, that's extremely unusual and quite possibly an indicator that that bat came from a cave system that's been contaminated with white nose syndrome.
Student Olivia Babb might not have the complexities of the disease figured out yet, but she's got the anatomy down pat.
This is my bat diagram. This is the wing, this is the ear, this is the thumb, this is the body, this is the tail, and that's the foot.
And Caleb McCarthy has no fear.
And what did you think about the bats today?
Cool, I like them.
Not only is Caleb enamored by these creatures, with Michael's help, he now understands the dire situation.
There's a lot dying and we're trying to protect them.
Today's a juvie.
And so far, the news is good in eastern Newfoundland. Researchers say when they gathered data from hundreds of bats at the Salmonier Nature Park last summer, they found no evidence of white nose syndrome yet.
The more that we can protect the survivors, those survivors would be of key importance in helping the gradual rebuilding of population numbers, hopefully, over time.
But even if eastern Newfoundland is hit hard, researchers say there is a glimmer of hope from other regions devastated by the disease.
Certainly in parts of the Maritimes, like in Nova Scotia and New Brunswick, they had white nose syndrome first emerged there over a decade ago, so they were much ahead of Newfoundland and Labrador for white nose syndrome. And some research is showing promise that there's some pockets of populations that are starting to recover. It's still not even close to the numbers that they were prior to white nose syndrome, but it is showing some promise for sure.
So this bat is a recapture from previous year's trapping.
The hope is that if we can hold out and maintain a healthy 1% of bats, if that's all that's remaining, or 5%, that in future decades we might see a strong population once again.